All right, 3, 2, 1. We're live.
Hey, folks! Welcome to our live. Where are you? Oh, it's always a whirlwind just before we have our workshop. Anyway, got lots of people here tonight. This is going to be fantastic. It's only short, but I think we'll try to squeeze it a little bit longer. Anyway, we are about to start class number 28, Jake?
Yeah.
Number 28. So this Sunday, we will bring in 7 combat wounded vets for the class, Purple Heart, and that will represent 187 combat wounded soldiers that we have had come through our program. Now we're starting to get numbers where we're making a dent in some lives. Anyway, so tonight's topic is drawer making. So we're going to try to entertain as many questions that you have as possible. We also have a new format. I have Jeff O'Connor, unless you talk to Lutheran, it's O'Connor, and his lovely wife, Kim, brains behind the operation.
And the brawn.
And yeah, I saw her arm wrestle him earlier. Anyway, so this is all about fundraising to make the Purple Heart Project work, where we actually get to go in and change lives. You're going to hear from Jeff in a little bit. And it's his 5th anniversary. So 5 years ago right now, he came here to our workshop. We were in the other building. We've grown quite a bit. Anyway, how many people do we have on, Frick?
171.
How many?
171.
Okay, we'll give it a few minutes to build, and then I'll do some more serious introductions. Throw a question at me if you will. Jeff, come over here, please. Don't you have a pen on?
No, Jake gave me this Rockstar microphone.
Oh.
This is acceptable.
So Jeff's here to back me up tonight. Make sure Ken doesn't get out of hand, start throwing things. Frick, are you going to give me a question?
Yeah, I was just making sure Jeff's mic's working. Did you give me a check there, Jeff?
Mic check.
Kim?
Perfect.
Yeah.
That was probably just came in.
Oh, what?
It sounded like a sharp.
Oh, right, sorry. Okay, you do your job, I'll do mine.
All right, first question comes from Will Downing in Lancaster, PA.
You got to say their name slowly so I hear it. Will Downey?
Downing
Downing? I know that name.
in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Will.
He says,
Jeff, say hi to Will.
Hey, Will.
In what situations would you use a veneer over a through dovetail versus cutting a half-blind dovetail?
No, it's an easy one.
I think Jeff should try to answer.
You want to handle that one, Jeffrey?
No, I didn't hear the question, honestly.
You do that when you are really,
You want the block box?
huh?
You want the block box?
Yeah, that would be. I'm thinking of, well, a lot of our big drawers are upstairs. Anyway, let me just answer it while you're he's off getting that. If you have the opportunity to have the grain flow down through your drawer fronts, meaning everyone, well, here's an example, although it's not quite what you asked, but so these drawer fronts all came from 2 pieces of wood. So if you follow it carefully, you can see the grain goes, this piece came, and this piece were all 1 piece of wood, and those 2 were as well. But there are times when you can do something even more interesting with veneer. So in this case, on what we call the bloke box, I had a flitch, so I have to explain that. When they cut veneer, it's cut with a knife, so the nice thing about that is there's no kerf, so you're not losing material in the process. If you saw lumber, you're going to lose a certain amount of material because of the saw, because of the kerf. When you slice with the veneer, you don't. And because the veneer is so thin, when I slice off 1 piece, it looks an awful lot like the piece that you're now looking at because it's literally only several thousandths of an inch away. So you can buy a flitch where they'll take a log and they'll slice. They'll keep it all in order. I've got lots of them around. And then you can do really magical things with it. So what we did here on this box, Jake, you want to come in closer? They've been commenting that we don't get enough close shots.
Yeah.
Jake's getting all wound up. So here's a piece of veneer, and I was able to take the same piece and take 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 pieces, and glue this piece on. You'll notice that it looks exactly like this piece. And if you project up, it looks exactly like this piece. I was even able to take that piece of veneer and cut the other, and make the cut, and then put it up here. So if you look carefully, it looks like the rain comes up and goes over. So it allows you to do stuff that you wouldn't be able to do with solid wood. So in those cases, I typically would do a regular through dovetail and then glue on the veneer. In some cases, it had to be a couple of pieces because I needed more thickness than just the veneer thickness. And that allows you to play with your drawer fronts. And I've done it with much bigger pieces, and the grain just, every piece looks exactly like the one above it, except you'll see some very minor changes as the grain progresses through the board. So that's when I do it. Other than that, we can, if you get our new tools for doing half blinds, and specifically they are the, Jeff, you butt in anytime you want. The Kerfex 10, where do we hide that? Over here. The Kerf
Spot for it.
The Kerfex 10 and the half-blind dovetail chisel. That's the half-blind dovetail chisel for getting into those corners. And that's the Kerfex 10. If you've never seen that work, go on the video, go on our website and look. That's amazing. I wouldn't cut a half-blind today without using those 2 tools because they cut the time. What's your estimate?
Oh, the Kerfex
Oh,
tank
this
cuts.
is where Jeff pretends to woodwork. Go ahead.
Yeah. In my vast experience of woodworking, Rob, no, I would say it cuts
Half?
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Especially with that tool.
No, it's, you see it done and it's like, okay, I could never go back to doing it the old way. Hope that helps. Next, Rick. Let me know when we got a couple hundred, 250 people on so I can address the massive throngs of people. Tell them what we're doing.
We're at about 2:30 right now.
That's good enough. Come on in, Kim. So Kim had this great idea. Kim and Jeff and I have a business group where we meet an hour a day, an hour twice a week on a Zoom call. And we help each other. It's called a mastermind group. And my goodness, I've gotten more out of that than you can shake a stick at. And Kim always comes up with these incredible ideas. So,
I have a great idea sometimes, don't I?
you married her. You married her. Can you explain it? Do you know what? Tell them what we're going to do?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was trying to brainstorm ways that we can help increase the fundraising for Purple Heart Project. And I know for me personally, when I am giving to something that I can feel personally and emotionally connected to, the giving just feels a lot better because I know exactly what it's going to, who is it exactly benefiting from it. So rather than we just have these open donations for the Purple Heart Project, it's quite a tongue twister, I thought to Rob, what if we allowed you to pick where your donation's going? What veteran you want to support? If there's someone from your home state or someone that just is calling
Same
you.
branch.
Same branch. Someone that you just, if your heartstrings are being pulled for them. So what we have devised is this really fancy list here of all of our veterans.
Notice the
that-
poppy. The poppy in the
poppy,
corner.
yes.
Whose handwriting is that? It's exquisite.
It is. It's a very artsy fellow that we know. So we have this list here of the veterans that are going to be attending the May project starting in just
2 days.
And where they're from. So we have Brandon from Massachusetts, Gregory from
Go,
Virginia.
tell him service.
He's Army and he retired as an E6. We have Gregory from Virginia who was Marine
Can I
captain.
interrupt you, Kim, for just a second,
Of course
please?
you may.
Sorry.
It's your show.
Okay, most people wouldn't have a clue what E6. Can you explain that, please?
E6 is usually when it's the next jump up from starting to have a lot of responsibilities within the military. In the Navy, they're perhaps the first classes, but you know, I believe it's sergeant first class when you're in E6 in the Army. But you're starting to be in charge of more people and running platoons, and that elevation of leadership starts to get higher at that point.
Okay.
So we have Brandon from Massachusetts. He was in the Army, retired as an E6. We have Gregory from Virginia. He was in the Marine Corps, retired as a sergeant major. And Michael from North Carolina, also in the Army, retired as a staff sergeant. We have Michael from Indiana, who was in the Marine Corps, retired as an E7. And the other 3 gentlemen we're still waiting on information for.
I have it. We just didn't. Oh, Josh. Josh is U.S. Army, first sergeant.
So I think first sergeant E8. I think I was mistaken on the E6. I think that's a staff sergeant. Sergeant first class is E7, if I remember correctly. Sorry, Army guys.
Anyone in the chat knows, you can correct him.
Just give us a second, Kim. Your mic isn't working.
Can you answer this in case it's one of the guys? You just have to put it to your ear.
Hello? Hello?
Are we good?
Randy, it's Ken in Rob's shop. You're just putting work together,
Is that
Well, that's why it's not working, right?
I know, but we don't have another.
where we're not
Yeah, we
live?
do. It's plugged in.
It's a good thing the camera's not turned over that direction. Usually there's his dinner.
Trail of
Try to
hamburgers.
question, guys. How long have we been waiting?
Yeah. Looks like two guys were not prepared, like the other three over here.
Yeah, yeah. We don't have feed? Audio, video, what?
Well, no, we have everything. We just don't have the mic working. All right.
Oh,
Let's,
whose mic's not working?
Kim, go ahead, Kim. Give us a test.
Okay.
Test,
When
test, test.
are you out now?
Yeah. Okay. We're good.
Ken, can you speak up and tell us what that is? You talking to Randy or Ken?
Randy.
What was he?
101st Airborne,
So Army,
Army, yeah.
101.
He was in several divisions, but we'll just pick one.
Well, no, what did he retire as?
What's the last one you?
Rank, what was his rank? What did he retire from?
Rank.
That's some terrible
Sergeant
penmanship,
first
eh?
class in which division?
How do you put sergeant first class? Just sergeant?
Okay, 409th Cavalry, okay. That's all we need, thank you.
I really feel like I should have done Army homework last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Don't worry, this is all work in progress.
Okay,
So
look forward to it, bye-bye.
we just don't have Ken yet. You
So
done?
we have Randy from Texas, Army, retired as a first sergeant. So, if one of these people is calling and pulling on your heart, maybe from your home state, when you make your donation tonight, please just note which veteran you'd like your donation to go to, and we're gonna go ahead and kind of keep track up here.
Well, and
for the veterans, when they leave, they get a really nice collection of tools, one of them being a shooting board. And anyone who donates to a particular veteran is going to have their name engraved on that veteran's shooting board. So we definitely want to get these filled up. So I want to see, we don't have phone lines to ring, but I want to
yeah,
Light the phones up.
Yeah.
light the phones up and
that would have been a great clip too from him. So it's going to say from a grateful nation, and then it'll list those of you who donate. And please don't do it anonymously. These guys need to know. They want to see a name on there, and just it needs to happen.
And this will give the veterans an opportunity to have someone to thank specifically when they're here on Thursday
Right.
if they feel
Yes,
called.
thank you.
So that you have that connection between you and the person that you're helping.
So don't forget, where are we having them do it in the chat?
You can put it in the chat, and there's also a memo field when you're doing your donations that they can list their veteran.
But for tonight, so we can keep track of it over here, we really need it in the chat so we can keep a tally. Oh, that's the other thing we need to tell, the amount.
The amount. So we calculated the total cost for each veteran, from airfare to food to tools to the workshop, was $7,200.
Yeah, I think it's 7,200.
So we would love to see these veterans get taken care of tonight, and if not tonight, then on Thursday.
So 7,200 is what it costs each vet. If you want to participate, we want to tie you into one of these. Make sure you put it in the link in the what do they call it?
The memo field.
No, on the
chat.
screen.
Oh, the chat.
On the chat, put your name. Please put your name
Check the box.
and which one of these vets that you want to support. Want your support to go to particular. We're all going to get taken care of. It's just a matter of letting you participate with one in particular, so.
When they're making the donation, tell them to check the box where it says make a comment, and then put the name in there.
So when you make your donation, you're gonna wanna use the checkbox that allows you to make a comment, and then you can write the notes in there for the veteran that you would like your donation to go towards.
So I want Kim to be so busy tonight, she's exhausted at the end of the hour, so. And she's gonna write down somehow in there, she's gonna tally.
Yes.
We're thinking this is a work in progress.
This is something that I just sprung on Rob 2 days ago, so I wanted to see how quickly he could implement it.
Well, I had such a fantastic idea, so we had to do it.
You adapted and you overcame, Rob.
I did. Let's have another question, please. One for Jeff in particular.
All right.
Don't ask him anything embarrassing.
Okay. This is an easy one.
That's embarrassing.
How dare you?
Where are you from?
Dan Patton in Fall River, Nova Scotia.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
What would you prefer to use for
Canadian.
drawer bottoms, and what thickness?
Drawer bottoms, I like to use like a Baltic birch, 1/4 inch, and that's my preference. I like to keep it light and get the dados and let it sit in there. But I think it's a sturdy enough wood. Unless you're putting in something really, really heavy, I've never had a problem with anything with the 1/4 inch ply in there.
The traditional way would be to use a solid wood. Plywood has taken over, and I think you need to mention there too, your grain always runs side to side, even though it doesn't matter in plywood, but traditionally. So I like to use a cedar because of the smell. If it wasn't so dang expensive, I'd use yellow cedar in all of my drawer bottoms because it just, it's such a wonderful smell. But you just have to make sure when you do that your grain runs, what are these? These are solid wood. So your grain runs like that. It's really easy to see. This is native, you know this is our cedar, Eastern cedar, yep. And you have to allow for expansion. So what way is that going to expand? It's going to go this way. If it went the other way, it will jam your drawer, and nobody wants their drawers jammed. So this is glued along the bottom. It's dry fit here and dry fit there. So as it expands, everything goes out this way. That's why whatever method you have of fastening it to the underside of your drawer back has to be in a slot to allow that movement. And the real secret here is if you bottom it out, what I mean by that is if the ends of this drawer bottom sit right in the bottom of the groove on the two sides, and it's glued to the front, then you cannot rack. It cannot go corner to corner. Makes it extremely stiff. Also allows you to make a really light drawer, thin drawer size, nice and light, and yet it makes it extremely stiff. So it's a great way of doing it. And if you're going to do it, if you're going to do hand cut dovetails, then by all means, I think you should use solid wood. But utilitarian, if you're doing kitchen cabinet drawers or something like this workshop, these are Baltic birch, just what Jeff described. I still treat it the same, well, I don't treat it the same way. You don't have to worry about the expansion. So on this, there's no slots. It's just screwed up in the bottom.
And you still do the glue the same way? Just the slots, just no slots with the screws?
You know what? I don't glue it because you know how beat up they get, especially if it's a workshop drawer like that, and it gets so grungy looking. I want to be able to take it out and change it should I have the up there at some point want to in the future. Next, Frick.
John Root in Greenbrier, Arkansas.
Hi, John.
When does one cut the groove to hold the bottom board? Before or after cutting the dovetails?
When does one cut the groove?
After.
Oh, what do you do, Jeff? You cut the groove before you cut your dovetails? You cut the groove after you cut your dovetails?
After, yeah.
But you have to make sure that you're...
Do a stop cut.
Okay, you're not doing the drawer bottom plane. You're using a router?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna depend on what you're doing. If I like to do the drawer bottom plane because it's so fun to use, and if you're doing that, in fact, I'll show you how fun it is. If you're doing that, take over, Jeff, while I look for a piece of wood.
Good evening, everyone. This is Jeff. I'm taking over right now. No, the drawer bottom plane, if you guys never used that thing, I used it when I was here for the Purple Heart Project 5 years ago, and we did a long piece of walnut with it, and it is so much fun to watch those curls pop out. And it's fast. I would say it's faster than setting up a router bit.
If you're only doing a couple drawers.
Yep.
I mean, if you had a lot to do,
Grab the plane.
pellets. If you had a lot to do, no, not that one. That's okay. That's brand new. That one's gonna be sold. I got one right here. How come I don't have one right here?
It's in the
It's
cabinet.
over here. Jesse Roofing makes these for us now. And Jesse is he is a master. So the question was, do you cut the groove before or after? So the only thing you have to make sure is that you're not going to cut through a tail.
Excuse me 1 second as I apply my spectacles.
1.1?
1.5s, ladies and gentlemen.
He's a junior. Want to tap? Yep.
Yeah,
Wait.
please.
So while he's doing that, I'll show you what I mean.
But just that sound and the feel of it cutting, this is really what woodworking's all about for me. And being able to, the smell that's just coming up off it right now is just incredible. It's a lot of fun to watch those cuts happening.
So when you're doing the cutting that groove, you have a notch out here. So if you're using a through dovetail, you don't want to have a notch showing out on this side. If you're doing a half blind, it doesn't matter because the end of the tail would be tucked in like this and you don't see it. Now the only thing you have to make sure is that you don't have your groove running through and taking off part of the pin. So you always would want to make sure that you set this up so that that groove is going in between two pins. So that's the only reason that, the only thing you need to take into consideration. But I too cut them after I've cut the tails. We have these, you can buy them. We've got them, actually we even got matched sets now, so you can get a left and a right. And the only reason you'd want a left is sometimes if the grain is really going wonky in the other direction, and you want it's going to be a lot cleaner cut if you're coming this way. You can't do that with that plane. You have to get the left-hand version.
And these are now made of torrefied maple, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Isn't he? Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He sent them over, and we tested them. They're plenty strong. It wasn't an issue
did
at all.
test them?
I did. I did. I talked to Jesse about it the other night.
You're playing hockey at the moment, Jake, when they're testing.
Santa Claus did a donation for 1,000.
Thank you, Santa Claus.
He wanted that divided among all of them.
Oh, did he really?
That- and
High
then we
five,
did that
high
same
five.
2,500 for all the arms, divide among arms.
Wait a minute. Stop. We got to talk. Okay, tell your wife to announce this. This has to be. Got to make a big deal of this. This is awesome. This is why we do this. Kim,
I'm trying to
please.
do math right now, but I will interrupt my math. We had Santa Claus who donated $1,000 for split among all the veterans. And we had one donation for Brandon and Mass.
McKibben donated the Army gun.
I'm sorry, who was that?
David McKibben.
Can we get him a
David
mic?
McKibben
Can we get
donated
him a mic? I
2,500
thought we had a whole bunch of them.
It's
to
the
split
connections.
amongst all the Army veterans that are attending. So I am doing the math right now.
So we got a little battle going on here between the Army and
I
the
guess so.
Marines.
Yeah, are these guys coming next week?
Yeah.
I'm in trouble.
You're outnumbered.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have my little sailor hat on while they're here.
So say
No
that again.
Navy
Sorry,
jokes,
I
guys.
missed it. What just happened?
We had, I didn't catch the name. I did say it, but
Who was it, Ken?
Dave McKibben.
Dave McKibben.
Dave.
Actually, I think Dave's coming to one of the classes this year.
Wow.
Dave McKibben donated $2,500 to be split among the Army veterans that are attending.
Okay, how
So
many
that's
Army do we
4
have?
of them.
We don't know what Ken is yet.
Ken's Army.
Oh,
How do you know?
jeez.
He's the J-Mao.
Okay.
So then that'll be $500.
But
That was quick.
I'll put Army in there.
Can you just put Jeff Navy at the bottom?
No. It's just looking for. You'll get paid.
Ooh, another $30
Keep it
from
coming, Ken. Keep it coming.
Massachusetts.
Wonderful.
That's great.
All right, keep Jeff and I working. What's the next question? You like that playing?
I love it.
Can I give you a tip?
Please.
Would you accept?
Please.
So when you're doing this, one of the things that you want to be careful of is that you have to keep those sides perfectly straight. And I find if you go and lift out and come back in, it's just too easy to get it. So I go, stay engaged.
You'll also notice it doesn't take forever.
Now that's actually a light, that's a little bit too light. The other thing is, probably 70% of my concentration is where? Where would you guess?
Come on, Jeff.
Your finger pressure
Yep,
here.
exactly.
So that-
70% of it is down there on my left hand because I've got an extra long fence on this, and I want to have that groove so that the sidewalls are perpendicular to the face. So I'm making sure it's like this. If you don't, it's too easy to push up here and you're going to push one way or the other.
The plane's too tall.
May I
Yes.
try again to redeem myself?
And he lifts it out.
Here we go. I failed already.
Redemption. shot.
One, in the groove. And that's easy because you feel it drop down. Right there, feel it drop down.
You know, it's probably a little more time in the gym.
Yeah. This is very fatiguing for me, honestly.
Okay, next.
Okay,
Are you done?
that's perfect.
Oh, hey, Finn, tell them what happened. Tell them what's the huge advantage about this.
Of this,
What's the huge advantage of using this to
there's
cut the groove?
there's no noise.
Besides that,
The groove is exactly the size of the 1/4-inch plywood that I use.
and another one.
That's his kind way of saying
This
you're
is-
getting it wrong. Keep
This
going.
is getting awkward.
So here's the problem. If you cut a groove with a table saw, what's the problem?
Burning.
This might be easier if you just give the answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm
when
gonna
you
leave now, guys. I'll see you later.
if you're using a table saw, you're cutting at the top of the arc. So the blade is essentially pushing your board up all the time. Very difficult to get the depth of the groove exactly the same all the way. And if you want this to be perfect, what you're attempting to do is to get the bottom of the groove exactly the same on both pieces so you can fit the bottom so it'll go in there and there's no play side to side. Well, if you try to do it with a router, it's difficult. You're using a router and it's cutting all the way around. That's hard. Table saw, I just explained. This, you will keep cutting until it bottoms out.
Keep cutting it.
Interesting.
And when it bottoms out,
And it will.
it'll eventually bottom out. You hear how it's still picking up a little?
I'm not timing this, but I think you're faster than I was.
I just keep going until it no longer picks up any material because this area right here has bottomed out right there, and that means that it's the exact same depth all the way. And that's a really big advantage. And we're splitting hairs, but that's what we're all about. All right, you know what? I'm gonna pause for a second. This man has been a good friend of mine for the last 5 years. I've stayed in touch with him more than any of the other vets that we've had, maybe with the exception of Super Dave and Kyle, but Jeff for sure. So I'm going to give Jeff the floor because he's going to explain a little bit about his experience in the past 5 years. And what we want him to do is explain to you why this is so important.
Well, Rob and I talked the other day, and this is the exact week I was here. So it's not even 5 years around this time. This is the exact week my class was here, and this happened by accident. And I was telling Rob yesterday that when I look back, here walking in these doors was a flood of emotions and a flood of memories coming back. And I remember how I was 5 years ago. And I remember what state of mind I was in 5 years ago, and it wasn't good by any means. And I was even reluctant to come here.
Can I
Yes,
interrupt you just so that, because there's people that might not know, what did you retire from?
Okay.
What did you do?
I was a master chief in the Navy, and I was a Navy EOD, and had multiple combat deployments. And I was getting treatment done.
They don't know what an EOD is.
Okay, explosive ordnance disposal. So we're the bomb squad for the Navy, and every branch has a version of EOD. So I'm the Navy version. We also do diving and parachuting and a bunch of other stuff. But after multiple deployments, I started to feel there was a big change happening within my body and my mind. And I was getting some treatment done. There's a world-renowned center next to Walter Reed Hospital called the NICO, which is the National Intrepid Center of Excellence. And I was getting some treatment for traumatic brain injury as well as PTSD. While I was there, they also do versions of distractive therapy for veterans that are dealing with these issues. And they teach, you get exposed to writing and painting, yoga, a bunch of different, what they call modalities, to try to get you in touch with something that can be a release from your everyday struggles. So while I was there, it got me thinking that I needed to find something that brought me happiness. And my psychologist there asked me what makes me happy. And when you're at home right now, you're thinking about it, you may think a quick answer could come easily to anyone if you ask, hey, what makes you happy, man? Nothing came to my mind. Nothing popped in my head, and it was sad. And I told her, nothing makes me happy right now. And she said, well, what used to make you happy? And I said, well, I love woodworking. I have done it for many years. I really enjoy it. And it was at that moment where I thought, okay, I need to try to figure out a way to let this woodworking come back in my life. But up until NICO and up until a Purple Heart project, I had never done any hand tool woodworking. It was all machining, so I didn't find it very relaxing. I found it more, I enjoyed the work, but it was, all you woodworkers out there, when you're in a machine, you got your dust collection going, you got your table saw running, your music's on, it's not a tranquil environment by any means. So while I was at the NICO, it's a 4-week inpatient treatment, and I was just searching for things that I could try to get into to help me start a new woodworking journey. And I came across Rob's Purple Heart Project, which I knew about Rob Cosman, and I heard about the Purple Heart Project, but I never really thought about going or delved into it very much at all. So talking to the nurse there, she said, you should really apply to this course. I think you'd be perfect for it. So I did. I applied to the course, and I was accepted. Right after I was accepted, I called Luther Shealy, who's a retired colonel, who does kind of the organization side of the Purple Heart Project, and I told him, I said, I don't, pull me from the course, I don't want to go. And he said, why don't you want to go? And I said, well, I think there's other people more deserving than I am. And when you look at your life, you see your friends who have no legs, no arms, one leg, one's blind, and you say, what are my problems? Yeah, I've got physical injuries, and I've got some blast injuries, and I've got things going on in my head, but I'm not a quadruple amputee, and Luther convinced me to stay. He said, you know what, I think you're a perfect candidate for it, because this is for guys just like you. And I'm really glad he did that, because when I came to this course, it literally changed my life. And I told Rob the other day, I said, every bit of who I am right now is because of Rob, his family, and coming to this course. Because up until that point, I didn't know, minus Jake, I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm glad you didn't include it. I don't encourage it.
But up until this course, I didn't even think about doing woodworking. I was thinking about when I retired from the Navy, I was going to train bomb squads, police bomb squads, because before I went into the Navy, I was also a law enforcement officer in Chicago. I always had a respect for the police, and I thought, you know what, they don't get enough funding to train the way we do in the Navy. So that was my goal. Well, I came to the course, and one of the first things we did was run a hand plane over Port Orford Cedar. And when I did that, I'll never forget the feeling of that sharp blade going across the Port Orford Cedar. It was so aromatic. So it was every sense was touched by that moment. And I thought, this is what I want to do with my life, because it brought me so much peace in that moment. So throughout that entire week, that feeling just grew and grew and grew. And that's what happened when I got back home. And it's been 5 years since I was in this place. And where I'm at now, physically, mentally, is a whole different realm. You know, sometimes I go in my shop and I just sit there and just enjoy it, and just enjoy the environment. I'll light a candle, I'll put my music on, maybe I'll sharpen a blade. I might not even do any woodworking, but I'm just in that environment, and just being there helps that. So the reason I'm bringing this up, and the reason I wanted to share it with you, is if you are out there and you're considering this course, you need to do it, because there is nothing like it. There is nothing that is, it's not pills, it's not people telling you what you need to do. It's you finding something in your life that brings you peace. And it might not even be woodworking. Maybe it's not the Purple Heart Project for you. For me, it is. But something that gives you that peace. And this is what it gives me. So thank you to Rob again. I love being back here. And it's a whole different feeling now coming back 5 years later. I'm still no good with this thing, obviously. But I'm still learning. So thank you, Rob. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. And I have something right here that you gave me 5 years ago.
Yes, look at that. Look at that. Awesome.
Challenge going. And I've got your mug. There's a rosary in there. Yes, back over to Kim.
So just to kind of go in addition to what my husband has said, not only did it save him, but it saved our relationship, because we loved one another, but it was really difficult for us each to get through our own scar tissue of what his service left onto us. So Rob's course provided him with him finding his peace, so that when I broke down, my husband was able to be there and support me. And he saved our marriage, he saved our lives, and we'll ever be grateful for him. And so if you are looking for something like this for you, please, make sure you reach out and get in the program. Or if you're out there and you want to help someone, make sure you're sending your donations so that someone who needs this course can come.
That's important coming from the Purple Heart recipient, which I always call the women. And Kim's made me aware of what happens, and it's really a shame that there's not more support given to the spouses that carry the load. Okay, let's lighten up. We need to make some money. This is awesome. Thank you very much. Can you give us an update, Kim?
Yes, we have a really great race going. Look at these donations just on a Thursday night, which I think is incredible. Friday night.
It's okay.
It's not a Saturday.
We're on Virginia time. Does
Yeah,
that
this year.
make sense?
But I think that this is great. We need to get some more money up here. We're doing awesome though.
So the Army is beating the Marine Corps? Is that how it happens?
Not normally, no.
Not normal? Hey, you Army guys, step up. Give me another question, Frick, please.
Dave in Austin, Texas.
Hey, Dave.
Do you do any special treatment on drawers you know will carry heavy loads?
Do you?
Thicker bottom.
Yeah.
Well,
Take a side too.
Yeah.
That drawer you just pulled out. No, this one here. This one.
Oh. Yes, Jake. Thank
Right
you.
here.
Well, this one too. So, Dave, where is he? In North Carolina?
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas.
He's in Austin, Texas of North
US of
Carolina.
A. So, Dave, this is a really good question. These are traditional drawers, and in the most traditional sense of traditional. I prefer to do my woodworking English style. And that meant that there is absolutely no kind of a drawer guide. It is literally a box that fits as close as possible in a hole. And that means that all of the friction is on the bottom side of the drawers, and it wears on this side of the case. So the problem is, you want your drawers to be as thin as possible. Why? Because it makes it nice and light. I think it looks better too. However, you have a very narrow running surface, and over multiple years, and everybody has seen, you've repaired enough antique furniture, what do you end up seeing? Grooves cut,
Oh,
right?
all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, it'll literally wear grooves down into the frame. So what you can do is you can add something called drawer slips. So drawer slips are an additional piece of wood that in this case doubles the wear surface, but they're only right down here at the bottom. Now neat they look. So instead of having to have a big thick side to have a big wear surface, you just add drawer slips right there, and that increases the wear surface without substantially increasing the weight, and that will provide many more years. It'll double the amount of time it'll take for it to actually show wear marks. So these are all done with drawer slips. And what I did with these, I actually have one here that I thought it was empty, so I could pull it out, yeah. So I actually make a feature of it instead of hiding it. So the fronts are mahogany, so I did the drawer slips out of mahogany, and if you want to see how they work there. So the grooves for the drawer bottom are actually cut into the slip. The slip just glues onto the side of the drawer side, and I cut a little tongue on the end and slip it into the groove that's cut into the front. And then you want to make sure that these are nice and flush so that it's actually wearing on both surfaces, not just one. So that is how I handle heavy drawers.
I just wanted to say one thing real quick while you were pulling that drawer out. This is something I wanted to share with you guys. Now this what would you call this?
Bloke
A
box?
bloke box.
A bloke box. This bloke box was here 5 years ago when I came to the class, and I remember it was one of my favorite things. It was sitting on, we were eating a meal one day and it was sitting out there, and I was amazed by how beautiful it was. But the reason I'm bringing this up is we're talking about drawers, and you can have very, very high-end furniture, and there's still racking in the drawers.
Yeah.
And it is so impressive that 5 years later, there is still, I'm pulling on this drawer back and forth right now. There is no racking in this drawer. It fits absolutely perfectly, and it slides in perfectly. So there's no pull, there's no friction. So I wanted to share that with you. I mean, this is what fine woodworking is all about.
Jeffrey, a true test is to push it in from the corner.
Oh my gosh. Wait, do that again.
On a not sad, well, it is sad note, but you can help. So I don't know if you realize this, and I don't have time to go through the whole story tonight, but I need to get a little bit of it. I was taught the art of giving by a man that we've never even spoken. We have never spoken to each other. We've only communicated through email. Popped into my life in the spring of 2015. Sent me money, sent me $1,500 and said, Rob, I really like what you're doing. I sent you some money. Wouldn't it be nice to just give away tools every week? I'll pay for it, retail, I'll cover the shipping, the whole bit. Just give away tools. And I thought, wow, how does that happen? Bam, check cleared the bank. Before long, another check showed up, and he said, I'll just keep the kitty full, you just keep giving away tools. Well, that went on for a year, and he gave us in excess of $30,000. And then at the summer of 2016, as well as helping Jesse, which really is what kicked off the Purple Heart Project, Jesse Paratus, he ended up paying for 5 people to come to my workshop that summer. Anyway, he's a Vietnam vet, and he's suffering. What's really terrible is that this stuff never goes away. Now, I have no idea. I only have witnessed it from guys that have been in our class and females. But the negative effect of combat, as Luther calls it, doesn't go away. You just hopefully learn to manage it. And Santa Claus is going through some of that himself right now. In fact, he's even been, he's hospitalized because of it. So if you believe in God and you're willing to remember him in your prayers, that would be very nice. And I know he and Mrs. Claus would certainly appreciate it. So if you can take care of that, we'd be grateful. Ken's here. Angie, I'm sure, is watching. Luther's on. Is Kyle on? Kyle Perrell is on his way from Newfoundland. Kyle's coming in to be, he and Jeff are going to be our assistants for the week. And by the way, Jeff's here because we bring a vet back from a previous class every time we do the class to come in and be our assistant. And that's awesome. We had a bonus this time because Kim came up with them. Now, I want to show you something. I'll do one more question. I'm going to do a few more, but I want to introduce this to you because we're excited about. Jeff's been helping me work on this in the last couple of
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Emphasis on help.
Well, it's a little odd that you have 2 assistants this week.
It is.
No, we always have two.
Oh.
Yeah, they keep each other in check. Unless they fight and argue. What's the question, Frick? Well, you're digging a question. I want to tell them
I
what's
got
going to
it.
happen. Huh?
I got one. You ready?
Okay, no. I was, but you weren't quick enough. So we just get so excited about this. So here's what's going to happen. We changed the format a little bit. We used to fly the guys in on Sunday. Now we fly them in on Saturday, just so that there's always somebody that's flight that gets delayed.
Well, we're starting that in June.
Oh, we're not doing it today?
No.
Tomorrow? Oh, I thought we were. Well, anyway, so we're going to fly them in on Saturday. They stay at the airport hotel down in Bangor, Maine. So that's the airport that we use most often. So I'm talking about the vets. And then Jake or I go down Sunday morning in our big Canada van and pick them up, bring them back here. So everybody's excited. A lot of chit chat on the way up. It's a 3-hour drive. You get a chance to meet them. Sunday night at 7 o'clock we have, Ken, how would you describe our dinner that we have? Awesome be a good word?
A queen's buffet?
A king's buffet. It's absolutely fantastic. And it's all colorful, and my grandson Lincoln does all the barbecuing on the chicken. He's in charge of the chicken. Frick struggles along with, what is it you brought?
Pulled pork.
Pulled pork. Frick always does pulled pork. And the ladies fix up, there's lots of fruit and cheese, and just, it's awesome. It is really great. And then we give room assignments, and everybody brings their tools in, and they pick their bench, and we're all ready to go. Usually wraps up about 9:30. And then we're in at it first thing Monday morning. They're actually here about 7 usually, but we actually start officially at 7:30. And we just introduce everybody real quickly because we'll do it more in depth as we go. But we get started. And the first thing we do is we give them their tools. So all the vets, we get to take this. This is the best part. This money is helping to buy a full kit of tools, hand tools, the very best stuff we can come up with. And we get to deliver it. And Jeff told me how hard it is sometimes for these guys to accept this. These guys are used to giving. They're not used to receiving. But we teach them that, you know what? Sometimes you have to be the reason why somebody else gets to feel good about giving. When the little old lady brings you cookies, whether you want them or not, you take them and you be gracious. So everybody gets their tools. And then right away, this is how we changed it a little bit. Everybody's got a blade that's already prepared.
Oh, wow.
So instead of having them struggle, they get your Port Orford experience right away.
Awesome.
And everybody's planing a piece of wood, and you can just feel any tension in the room just dissipate, because everybody is having this. If you've never done any woodwork in your life, and somebody gives you a properly sharpened plane, and you get to move it over a piece of wood, and that onion skin comes out, it's just like it turns men into giggling girls. Am I allowed to say that?
Some of us giggle more than others.
Yeah. And it's awesome. And then we go through the process of teaching them, okay, now how do you get it that sharp? And throughout the week we learn dovetails. And I got to point this out. Is this the first chance we've had an opportunity, isn't it? This is the first chance I get to throw Charlie's dovetail? We haven't done anything since.
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't.
Is this our first?
This is our first and only live?
No.
Yes, Frick, or what? This is our first live since the class?
Oh, maybe.
It must be, because we were at the class 2 weeks ago. So I had a guy in the class, his name was Charlie. Charlie was Army. Charlie suffers a lot of TBIs.
Not that
Jeff,
there's anything wrong with that.
Jeff, tell him what a TBI is, please.
Traumatic brain injury is something that can occur from a multitude of reasons. Most of the guys in the military have it occur through blast over pressure injuries. So picture your vehicle being hit by an IED, or maybe it's an RPG hits nearby, but the blast over pressure and the fragmentation the concussions of accidents when the Humvees get rolled by the detonations. It can just be a fall. It could be a guy falling off a 2-story building when he's chasing after somebody in Baghdad. You know, it's a friend of mine got a really bad TBI from that. So really, anytime that brain is rattled, is going to cause those issues inside the brain.
And leaves scarring.
Yep.
And can you explain brain fog?
I have it right now. Honestly.
Seriously?
I do. Yeah, I get it. I get it occasionally. Ooh, you're laughing at me, Kim. This is terrible.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
insensitive.
But brain fog is like right now where you kind of feel. My best explanation is a little loopy, where you're not able to put words together real well. Sometimes you're not able to process questions, things like that. So that would be
bring
my
your chair. Come over
interpretation,
here with
which
that.
I get occasionally.
Sorry, I was trying to get your wife over here so she can stay in the picture. So anyway, Charlie suffered from multiple TBIs, traumatic brain injuries. And I first learned about that when we had Super Dave here. We brought him up one time to go fishing, but we ended up making boxes. And I was trying to teach him how to do a wood hinge box. And I would give him 3 or 4 steps, and he'd go back, and he'd come back to me about 3 or 4 minutes later, and he said, can you go over that again, Rob? And I would do it again, and he'd go off, and a couple minutes later, he'd come back, and he'd be struggling with step number 1. And I'm thinking, holy smokes. If you can imagine saying something, and it goes into a room full of fog, and it winds its way through, and it finds the brain receptor, and that formulates an answer, and sends it back into this room of fog, and it works its way through to the mouth, and out comes an answer. So I literally, with Dave, I had to 1 step at a time. So the disorientation, it must be terrible to have to live with something like that. So when Charlie worked on, we did dovetails on Tuesday, and Charlie was determined to get it right. Take your camera off, Jake, you're gonna need to come over here.
I am.
Charlie was determined to get it right. And Friday, he comes over, and he says, Rob, I finally got it. And before you look at it, he showed it to me. And I'm guilty of having prejudged what I was expecting, and I didn't expect much. He comes over and he hands it to me, and I'm just a jaw drop. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, holy Toledo. And my first response was, Charlie, I know you probably want to take that home, but if you give it to me, it goes on my wall. And he goes, here you go. So have a look at Charlie's dovetail. I was thoroughly impressed. Not only with the quality of the work he did, but the determination and the stick-to-itness that it required in order for him to pull that off.
That's a new
Charlie,
word.
if you're what?
That's a new word.
Yeah.
Stick to
Stick-to-itness?
it.
I like it.
You don't know the stick-to-itness? Charlie, if you're watching, brother, I will toot your horn forevermore because of that.
If I could say one thing real quick, Rob,
You
about
can.
regarding this dovetail and kind of the people in the class. What's nice about this course is you don't have to come from a woodworking background. You know, a lot of guys that I've talked to that are Navy EOD guys, when I talk about the course, they're interested in it, but they feel like they're going to look stupid because they don't do woodworking normally. And it doesn't matter. Everybody's starting from the same page, and you're working at your own pace. And it's about the therapy. It's about the process. It's about getting through all of this and feeling that experience. That's the most important. It doesn't matter if you've been woodworking 20 years or you're walking and never held a chisel before. So
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Jake, remind me. So I always ask on the first day, how many are literally doing woodwork for the first time? No prior experience. And I need to know that because I need to know where to start. How many raised their hand?
Ooh, it was like 8.
I thought it was half the class. And I'm like, whoa. We're a class of 14 and at least 7 of them raised their hand. Like the good news is we're getting through. We are finding the guys that are looking for something, and this is the option. Jeff already had an interest. Most of the guys have already had an interest. So we're actually finally getting in and tapping into that group and saying, okay, check this out. So the interesting thing is this was the norm in the class. Most of the guys will produce a dovetail like that. They don't all have the same injuries that Charlie had, but this is very much what we expect. So like Jeff said, don't worry about it. I don't think we've ever had anybody come to the class that had any amount of hand tool woodworking experience. A lot of guys like Jeff had worked power tools, but this is a completely different animal. This is, in fact, if you have never used hand tools and you're not a hand tool worker and you have no experience, no matter how many pieces of lumber you've run through a joint or a table saw, this is a complete opposite. And it is calming and it brings peace into your life. That's the biggest part. That's part of our mission statement. Frick, question please.
This is from Jeff in Wisconsin.
Well,
If I may.
Do you cut your pins proud on the sides and then plane them flush?
No.
that's him. That's a Jeff question.
Well, what?
That's a Jeff question.
Yeah, I don't. Mine are generally, they're generally pretty flush when I put the joint together, but sometimes the tails are a little bit proud, but I generally don't make the pins proud unless I'm going to do something that I want that look. But I don't like the idea of having pins sticking up way high and then I've got to try to plane those down at the end grain.
So I'm going to throw in an answer that's something to consider. We like to finish right from the hand plane. My biggest, I'm not going to talk about it on this. If at all possible, we finish right from the hand plane, no sandpaper. If you're building a big bookcase that's 4 or 5 feet wide, 4 or 5 feet tall, it is a heck of a lot easier to pre-plane all of the pieces before you assemble. Trying to plane a board that's 5 feet tall is very difficult. Under those circumstances, I'm talking to you now, if you leave your pins and tails proud just a little bit, now all you have to do is flush them up to the pieces that have already been planed. If you leave them, if they come off flush, in order to clean up that end grain, you got to take material off the entire side, the entire top. So under those circumstances, I'll leave them a little bit proud. Under this circumstance, when you fit a drawer, the first thing you do, and I'll try to do this quickly, is you take your back, which is a secondary wood, and you fit it to that opening. And you fit it to that opening so there is zero clearance. It literally is the shape of that opening. If you screw it up, you go get another piece of secondary wood. This is special. This isn't, this isn't, this isn't. I can screw this up 10 times and no big deal. Once I get that one exact to that opening, I take it and how it is oriented in the drawer, I put it in front of the drawer front, so my top right corner and my top right corner are matched. I use that to score a line on my drawer front before it's fit. And then I can take that to my shooting board. I've got a score line, not a pencil, a score line, which is very, very precise, and I can shoot right to the score line. When I'm done, this and that piece are the exact same size. Now, that means that the ends of these pins and the ends of these pins have already been planed. They are finished. When I build my drawers or my dovetails under that circumstance, I will set my marking gauge to be just a little bit, and when I say a little bit, what am I talking? 32nds, 64ths? I set it to be just enough so I can feel a little bit, this is sticking out a little bit more. Funny that that's exact thickness. Now when I assemble my drawers, put them all together, this is going to be proud of these pins on the front and on the back. When it's all dried up, I put it in position and I start to plane it clean. This allows me to clean up the glue and whatever else. And when I start planing and I start to pick up an end grain shaving from here and here, and I do that from here to here, same thing on the other side, now it fits the opening because I've used the back and the front to size it. So under those circumstances, you set your marking gauge such so that when you're done, your pins actually are sunk in a little bit and you plane down to them. So there is no one way, and that's the reason I have for doing the two opposites, proud versus not proud. Frick.
All right, let's wrap it up.
No.
I'll do the draw now.
No, we do the draw on Thursday night, Frick.
Oh, yeah, right.
I want to talk about this, and I want to give them a little bit of a bonus because we were late and you guys are having a hard time over there. So, Kim,
Yes, sir.
can you update us? Just if you're tuning in late or you missed the first part, what we're doing here, this was Kim's idea. From now on, when we do these, we are going to have the names of the soldiers that are coming to the program. These guys are showing up here on Sunday, where they're from, the branch of the service that they worked in, the rank that they retired from, and then this is what it costs us currently. This goes up every year. $7,200 US is what it costs for us to bring Brandon in, to fly him here, to put him up, to feed him, and to feed him well. We didn't talk about the food. Oh boy. Send him home with a whole bunch of tools, and thanks to the bench brigade, there'll be a bench built for him to our spec, delivered to his home so he can continue to do this. We give him our lifelong membership to the online workshop so he can have ongoing training. So tonight, up till right now, Kim's gonna update it, this is what has been donated. So it's the Army against the Marine Corps. And I think the Army's way out in front.
It certainly is, Rob. It's a tight race. As you can see, we have done an amazing job tonight. We're about, 1/10 of the way there for each vet, which is pretty amazing in an hour if you think about it. So we want to get these numbers up. We want to get them paid off on Thursday.
Is this current?
This is current. I just
Is this
updated
current?
it.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did.
So who's in the lead?
So we have,
We have three 740s. Army, Marine Corps, Army. So the Army is actually beating the Marine Corps,
I think those guys are gonna have to wrestle when they get here.
yeah.
probably.
We need to pick it up here for sweet Joshua in New Jersey. Come on, folks. Show us the love, New Jersey. Come on.
Fist pumping, guys.
Well, we need to say go Brandon too.
Go Brandon.
Let's go
Let's do
Brandon,
it.
because he's 736.
Let's go, Brandon.
He's almost pulling ahead. What's that?
Which Marine? Michael?
Oh, do we have a winner?
Oh, Michael's coming up ahead.
50
Uh-oh.
for each, it's Gregory and Michael.
50 for who?
Greg and Mike.
You know what? All we got to do is pit the branches against each
That's
other. And
it.
this will
That's
have
it.
no limit.
I'm stunned there's not a sailor on there, Jake.
Oh, I'm not. This is a bit of a manly thing.
I want to show you something. Frick, have you got another good question?
Yep.
Okay, give me a good question. Then I want to introduce you to something we're excited about.
All right, this one's from Lane Carter in Arkansas.
Hi, Lane in Arkansas.
He says
Kim, you can answer this one?
Does the grain direction on a drawer bottom always run side to side, or does it depend on the width of the drawer?
Yes.
It's always goes side to side. Okay, and that's because, Jake,
Well, just
I don't remember Jake answering questions.
make sure your answer is clear when
Okay.
they say side to side.
All right, so if you look at this, actually turn it this way. So the grain is running this way. The board, how do boards expand and contract? They don't get any longer, so that's how it grew out of the tree, right? There's your board, that's how it came out of the tree. So it's not going to get any taller over time. But it's going to get wider and it's going to get narrower. So this wood is hygroscopic. That means it's always trying to equalize itself with the atmosphere. So if a low pressure system blows in and we didn't have this room controlled, then the moisture content in the air would increase. And all the wood in here would be sucking up some of that moisture. And when you suck up moisture in a piece of wood, it causes those cells to expand and that board's going to get wider. So what's going to happen is it's got to move. It can't be contained because it's going to move. And when a high pressure comes in, and the air dries out, and all the moisture that's been sucked up by this wood gets released into the air, same thing. And as that gets released, it's going to shrink. If we turn this around, and you see the fit, and don't let anybody tell you any different, the fit, you should never have side-to-side movement, only up and down. The up and down accounts for the fact that the board is going to grow like this or shrink. So you can't have it fitting perfectly because at some point of the year, you won't be able to draw the door open. And trust me, when I moved home from Utah, they were welded. You could not use, there were a stack of drawers, I had all kinds of chests of drawers. They would not move. I had to get a hair dryer and blow a hair dryer in until I could finally get them to open, and then I had to plane some material off of here. So on your drawer bottom, if you had that turned around and that thing expand out the side, it could blow apart your case. You cannot stop wood from expanding. They used to drive wooden wedges down into a hole that would bore into a rock, pour water in, and that expansion would break the rock. So this is powerful stuff. You can keep a board from cupping, but you can't keep it from expanding or contracting. And if you were locked it in place and it contracted, it'll crack. So yes, grain always runs side to side in your drawer. And if it's plywood, we still do the same thing. even though it doesn't matter in plywood, but it's a traditional thing. All right, let me show you what we're doing. So, Frick tells me, how many episodes?
I believe we're in the upper 100.
Upper 100. So, Jake and I started this in 2012. We started the online workshop.
This case?
No. That one. So a friend of mine, John, in New York, convinced me to do this. And he said, Rob, you should do this. And it was actually, he said, Mark
The
Woodward
Newfie wants you to know that he's on now.
Kyle, you want to say hello to your fellow partner for the week?
Kyle, I look forward to embracing you next week.
Is he still planning to come now? So John told me about what Mark Spagnola was doing with the Wood Whisperer, so we did it. And what we do is we film building furniture. It's a membership site, costs you X number of dollars a year. So we give you 3 45-minute episodes, and whatever we do is sequential. So we take you from the design right through to the applying the finish. So if you're a wounded vet, whether you come to our program or not, if you are a wounded vet, you can have that membership for free for life. That's our contribution to you. If you come to our program and you learn the basics now, you can continue on, and there's tons of products on there. So that's where we're building this. And the idea was that we were going to build this. You've got a role to play here in a minute. Fill it with tools, and then somehow figure out a way to either raffle it or auction it off as a way of raising money for the Purple Heart Project. And I got to tell you this again. Currently, this year we projected it's going to cost $350,000 US to do our 6 classes and bring in 42 combat wounded veterans and take care of them and send them home with tools. That's a big chunk of change for a small business, and that's why this really helps. But more importantly, you get to participate, and you will feel wonderful for having done it. Back to this. First thing we did we build a model, Jake? Do you remember? Or did we go right into the mock-up?
You went right into the mock-up.
We didn't build a model?
No.
Okay.
Because you built this with the intention of doing it in an advanced workshop,
Oh, right.
and it was only going to take 6 or 7 days to complete it.
Probably 3 for me.
So this was the mock-up, made out of plywood, screwed together, allowed us to figure out where all the tools were going to go, and then this was the finished project. So we are just in the process of starting to put a finish on, and what's going to happen is when it's done, all these tools, our audience is going to have the opportunity to buy the tool that goes in here that will eventually be sold so that some lucky guy or gal gets to have this. And those funds will go to help finance our Purple Heart Project. So I just want to show you what's going on. I don't think you've seen it with the hinges. We finally got the hinges that we were looking for. So over here on this side is all of our drilling, mostly drilling. Got our winding sticks in here, thanks to Jesse Roofench. We'll get a good pair that doesn't have a knot hole in it. He's making them for me. The drills, our brace, Ernie out in Seattle did that for us, as well as our egg beater drill. And then we needed a place to keep our bits. So thanks to Al, my combat wounded Al that works here. Al took all these bits and cleaned them all up, got them all ready. So this is hinged, so that closes like that. And then that side will close. We'll open it back up again. Over on this side, we have all of our chisels, and the chisels are held in place with magnets, but you can't see the magnets because the magnets are applied from behind inside, but there's just about a 1/16 of an inch of wood left, so you don't have to see it, but it still works. Same thing with the squares. There's a magnet in there, but there's a little slot cut on the piece of wood so it holds it firmly. You got your straight edges on here, and of course this one closes as well. We made this walnut plywood. In our center section, you have your panel saws. You have your cross cut and your rip. So the saw till comes out. This is the cross cut. I hate the fact that this is going to get scratched eventually, but I guess that's the purpose of building it. And that fits in. Thanks to Willie for making our stays for us. This is your rip saw over here. Your saws here are your dovetail, your crosscut, and your medium tendon. So we designed it so since this is the one that could use the most, this is out on the outside. Get your hammer. Here you have your grip, which goes on your plane. Jake developed this himself. We've sold hundreds, if not thousands of them. And we needed a way that we have a magnet on it because it goes on the side of your plane. In fact, I'll show you this right now in case you haven't seen it. So when you're using your shooting board, it's very difficult to hold your hand on there. So you take the grip and it fits on there like that, and now you've got fantastic necessary. There's a magnet on here, and we needed something magnetized to hold it in place. So I got a Canadian quarter. That's, you see the maple leaf because it was made in Canada. But in 2014, they were commemorating Remembrance Day, and that's the poppy. So that's what we do to honor our wounded vets and past vets. So there's no way you're ever going to find a drill bit to match that quarter. So I took a piece of holly, which is a very white wood, put it on the lathe, turned the inside to fit the quarter, and then turned the outside to fit the 1.25 inch that we bored in here. And that is what the magnet sticks to when you put it in place. Get your fret saw, get your coping saw, get your router plane. Jesse made this drawer bottom plane. Now this part down here, let me put this back in place. Everything has leather where there's a plane sitting, which just quiets it when you set it down. So we have drawers. We have 3 drawers, and each drawer has a little dovetailed tray. And what this does is it increases the capacity of your drawer. Because once you put in one layer of material, you put another layer and then you lose all the stuff in the bottom. So this essentially becomes your second layer, but divided from the first. Nice little finger grips here. But we wanted to be able to lock these because when these close, we haven't figured this out yet, but we're going to figure it out. This will be lockable. How do you lock your drawers? Well, we came up with this idea. So once the drawers are closed, in here we have the mini adjustar. So I didn't show you that. This is a lot of promotion here. So that's the adjustar. That makes you, Jeff, give me a testimonial.
Adjustar is way better to
And
quick
Game
adjustments.
changer, right?
And
Yes.
he has small hands. So.
And yeah, tiny paws as well.
So
Little Marco, you'd call him.
So that's the adjustar for 4.5 and above. For the smaller planes, the 3 and the 4, we have the mini adjustar. So I said, well, that would be the perfect thing. So here's what you do. You turn this adjustar down like that, and that drops in these pins. So now these drawers are locked and you can't open them. And then to open them, you just spin it the other way and it pulls it up, and now you can open it. And if you go all the way to the back, you see there's a little brass insert. There's a little hole right there that the pins drop into. Each drawer has that. That's the part I like the most. Now,
What's that right there?
what's that right there? I saw that. I don't know. Oh, it's a pencil mark. Somebody's kid marked it with a pencil.
Bruce doesn't
There's
write
only
on it.
7 possibilities, 6, because one of them doesn't live here.
Just
Can you
put
go
it
around
out
the
there,
back?
our wiener dogs cannot hold writing utensils. So.
Can you come over here with your camera? Jeff did this the other day, and I just want to show you what. So I learned this from Alan Peters. Alan Peters' furniture was perfect on the bottom, in the back, remove a cushion, everywhere. And I once said to him, I said, why would you bother spending time tonight? He goes, well, he says, somebody might look at that. So there were never any errant tool marks. So I wanted the back, while plain, I wanted the back to be finished to the same level of finish that everything else. So we had to make our own walnut plywood, and it set in it just set in a rabbet just deep enough so there's a little ridge right here. Jeff finished that off for me yesterday, put the finish on there, but doesn't that look really nice? Through wedge tenons on
Jeff
both
didn't
sides.
cut those.
What do you think about the finish application there, Jake?
I think it was a little slow.
We haven't. The last thing we have to do is we've got to go in and apply the finish to the inside and to finish these outside these wings. But I wanted to have it together for the guys coming here next week so they have a chance to see it. Don't know how we're going to raffle this off or sell it, but we will. And you'll have you're going to have an opportunity. Everyone's going to have an opportunity to pay for one of the tools in here So you can be a part of it. All right. Did we forget it, or do we have a tally, final tally here?
6,000.
This is current?
Well, I don't know what that tally is. Brent has a tally, the official donor box tally,
Is,
6,000.
this is good. This is awesome.
That pays for almost one vet in just an hour.
Yep.
Pretty
So it would
amazing.
be really nice before we say goodnight to actually hit 7,200. And where are we, Ken?
6,000.
6,000 even? So we need 1,200.
I think we definitely need to call out some New Jersey people here. Come on.
Come on, Josh. Somebody has to help Josh.
Marine Corps is coming through. Look at that.
The Marine Corps is. We really need one of each of the four. Nobody on their Space Force. Okay, Frick, any final comments?
Nope.
So we will wrap this up Thursday night. So Thursday night, we are going to do the last hour. We'll do the draws. We always give away a prize, a really nice prize for every $1,000 that gets donated. So we'll combine the 2 nights and give that away. We're going to go around the class. Everyone will have been here for 4 or 5 days. They're comfortable. They get a chance to say hello. This will be the first time that Brandon, I can't say it again, Greg, Mike, Randy, Josh, and Ken will all get a chance to give a shout out to the people that actually helped bring them here, which I think is going to be fantastic. And Frick's going to work really hard to get the program done so this can be all laser engraved on their shooting board, and they will have that for life. You don't have to work this week, Frick. So, I say give a big shout out to Angie. Did I forget anybody? Santa, you're in our prayers, brother. We'll take care of you. Everybody will. Put some love in the comments there for Santa Claus. You have no idea what he has done. How, people think I did it. He's the reason why we have this. And he's a Vietnam vet.
Comments already, people praying.
That's good. Awesome. Awesome. He will feel it. Get better. You need to be here. You need to be here. Jeff, anything you want to wrap up?
No, I had a great time other than bantering with Jake.
Other than? Kim has to leave. Kim's flying home tomorrow. You want to go over there? Anything you want to say, Kim? Wish your
I
husband well all week.
Wish you well all week and try not to miss me too much.
Thank you, Kim.
And don't bug Jake. Don't crawl into his bed. 'Cause,
Again,
yeah.
I'm taking the microphone now. Take care, everyone.
See you in a matter of days. Okay, Frick, anything, any final questions that were just burning to be answered?
Nope. We only got through, I think, 3 of them. So.
Well, we had important business to do tonight. But we'll continue this. We will continue this on Thursday night. We'll try to squeeze in a few questions. Ken, anything on your end?
Nope.
Okay, so that's our final tally for the night?
Yep.
Wonderful. We'll pick it up Thursday. Join us, please. Look forward to seeing you. And thank you very much. We appreciate your support. See you.